Imagine you are a hungry bird, soaring through the humid canopy of the Amazon. Your eyes, sharpened by millions of years of evolution, catch a glimpse of green. A fat, succulent caterpillar. One meal to sustain your flight. You dive. You reach out. But in the heartbeat before your beak closes, the world shifts. The caterpillar's head swells. Its skin stretches, revealing two gleaming obsidian eyes. It rears back, swaying with the rhythmic, hypnotic malice of a pit viper. You don't think. You don't analyze. Your ancient brain screams one word. Death. You abort the mission, wings frantic as you flee into the safety of the leaves. But there was no venom. There were no fangs. You didn't just escape a predator. You were outsmarted by a master of the stage. You just fell victim to a lie so perfect, it has been written into the very DNA of the forest. This is the theater of the macabre. This is the edge of survival where the weak don't hide, they transform. Today we go beyond the surface. This is Mimicry's masterclass. When animals pretend to be something terrifying. Welcome to Animal Lover Planet. In the natural world, survival is an expensive game. To grow claws, you need protein. To produce venom, you need a complex metabolic factory. To be truly dangerous is a massive investment of energy and time. But what if you could have the protection of a killer without the cost of the kill? That is the fundamental question of evolution. Most animals choose to hide. They blend into the bark. They become a shadow among shadows. This is camouflage. It is passive. It is a plea to remain unseen. But there is a more daring path. A path for the bold, the strange, and the desperate. Mimicry is not about being invisible. It is about being seen and being feared. It is a psychological assault on the predator's mind. It relies on a universal truth of the wild. It is better to be wrong and go hungry than to be wrong and die. The animals we are about to meet have cracked the code. They have looked into the eyes of their greatest nightmares and said, I will become that. Deep in the rainforest, the hemiplane's triptolamus, the hawk-moth larva, is a soft, defenseless tube of protein. To a lizard or a bird, it is a jackpot. It has no sting, no poison, and no speed. By all accounts, it should be extinct. But watch closely as a threat approaches. The larva retracts its legs. It expands its anterior body segments. In a terrifying display of biological origami, the underside of its body becomes the top. Two dark, realistic eye spots appear, complete with a white reflection that mimics the glint of a living eye. The shape of its head rounds into a diamond, perfectly replicating the skull of a lancehead viper. It doesn't stop at the look. It adopts the spirit. The caterpillar begins to strike. It lunges toward the predator with the exact jerky cadence of a snake preparing to inject a lethal dose of hemotoxin. Think about the sheer complexity of this deception. For this to work, the caterpillar's skin must be patterned with mathematical precision. Its muscles must be calibrated to move in a way that is alien to its own species. This isn't just a costume. It is a full-body possession. The predator isn't looking at a bug anymore. It is looking at its own ending. This is the ultimate bluff. If the bird called the bluff, the caterpillar would be crushed in seconds. But in the wild, no one waits to find out. The lie is the shield. This phenomenon has a name that echoes through the halls of biology. Batesian mimicry. Named after the 19th century naturalist Henry Walter Bates, it describes a relationship between three players: the model, the mimic, and the dupe. The model is the real deal. It's the wasp with the agonizing sting. It's the frog with enough toxin in its skin to stop a human heart. These animals don't hide. They wear bright, high-contrast colors, yellows, reds, and blacks. This is called aposematism. It's a neon sign that says, don't touch. The dupe is the predator. It has learned through a painful encounter, or through inherited instinct, that those colors mean trouble. And then there is the mimic. The mimic is a parasite of reputation. It wears the uniform of the killer but carries no weapon. It is a harmless fly dressed as a hornet. It is a non-venomous snake painted in the bands of a coral snake. It is a high-stakes game of stolen valor. But for the mimic, the reward is life itself. For decades, the story of the Viceroy butterfly was the textbook example of Batesian mimicry. Look at them side by side. The Monarch is iconic vibrant orange, laced with black veins. It is famously toxic, sequestering glycosides from the milkweed it eats as a caterpillar. Any bird that eats a monarch will experience a violent, stomach-turning sickness it will never forget. The Viceroy looks almost identical. For a century, Scientists told us the Viceroy was the harmless one, a weakling riding the coattails of the Monarch's fearsome reputation. But nature is rarely that simple. Recent studies have revealed a shocking twist. The Viceroy is actually just as unpalatable and sometimes more toxic than the Monarch. This isn't the case of a coward hiding behind a hero. This is Müllerian mimicry. In this scenario, two dangerous species evolve to look like each other. Why? Because it simplifies the predator's education. If every bad thing looks the same, the predator only has to have one bad experience to learn to leave an entire group of species alone. It is a mutual defense pact. They are sharing the burden of teaching the world to stay away. The Viceroy isn't a fraud. It's a partner in a global marketing campaign for survival. While butterflies use color, the eye-spot mantis uses the power of the gaze. In the insect world, nothing is more terrifying than an eye. An eye means you have been spotted. An eye belongs to something big enough to hunt you. The mantis is a master of stillness, but when cornered, it performs a dramatic display. It spreads its forewings to reveal two massive concentric circles that look exactly like the eyes of a large vertebrate, perhaps an owl or a cat. But it's the timing that kills. If the mantis showed these eyes all the time, predators would get used to them. Instead, it keeps them hidden until the very last millisecond. It is a jump scare. It's a sudden, jarring burst of visual information that overloads the predator's nervous system. In that moment of hesitation, that split second where the predator's brain is trying to reconcile a small bug with big eyes, the mantis makes its move. It isn't just about looking scary. It's about tactical disorientation. But what if the predator can't see you? What if the deception has to work in the pitch-black silence of an underground burrow? Enter the burrowing owl. Unlike most owls, these small, long-legged birds live in the abandoned tunnels of prairie dogs. They are vulnerable. A badger or a ferret sliding into that dark hole would find a defenseless family of owlets. But as the predator creeps down the tunnel, it hears a sound that freezes its blood, a dry, rhythmic rattle. The unmistakable warning of a diamondback rattlesnake. The predator retreats. It knows that in the confines of a tunnel, a rattlesnake is a death sentence. But there is no snake. It is the owlets. They have developed a vocalization that perfectly mimics the frequency and cadence of a rattle. This is auditory mimicry. It is a lie told in the dark. The owl has hijacked the most terrifying sound in its ecosystem and turned it into a home security system. It is a reminder that in the war of survival, the mind is the primary battlefield. Some mimicry is so profound it borders on the supernatural. The potu bird of Central and South America is a creature of the night. By day, it must sleep in the open. But you could walk past one 1,000 times and never see it. The potu doesn't just look like a tree branch, it becomes the branch. Its feathers have the exact texture of weathered bark. But the true genius is its posture. It perches on a stump and points its beak toward the heavens, elongating its body into a jagged wooden splinter. It stays motionless for hours. Even its eyes are designed for the lie. It has tiny slits in its eyelids that allow it to see its surroundings while its eyes remain closed. It is watching you, but to you, it is just a piece of dead wood. If you approach, it doesn't fly. It simply becomes more wood-like. It is a commitment to a role that requires a level of discipline no human actor could ever achieve. It is the art of being nothing. Why does this work? Why haven't predators evolved to see through the ruse? The answer lies in the life selection principle. If a predator fails to see through a mimic's disguise, it loses a meal. It stays hungry for a night, but it lives to hunt tomorrow. However, if a predator assumes a real snake is just a mimic and attacks, it dies. The cost of being wrong about a mimic is low. The cost of being wrong about a real threat is infinite. Therefore, evolution favors the cautious. It rewards the scaredy cat. As long as there are enough real snakes and real wasps in the world, the mimics will always have a space to thrive. They are the ultimate free riders on the reputation of the dangerous. But this isn't a free ride. Mimicry is exhausting. To maintain the colors, the patterns, and the behaviors requires a massive genetic commitment. If a mimic becomes too common, if there are more fake snakes than real ones, the predators will eventually learn the odds. The lie only works if the truth is common enough to be feared. As we look toward the future, we are discovering that mimicry goes even deeper than sight and sound. We are now finding chemical mimics. Some spiders can release pheromones that mimic the mating scent of moths. The moth flies in, expecting a mate, and finds a web. Some orchids mimic the scent and appearance of female bees so perfectly that male bees attempt to mate with the flower, unknowingly pollinating it in the process. But what happens when the world changes? Climate change and habitat loss are shifting where animals live. What happens when a mimic moves into an area where its model doesn't exist? What happens when a fake snake meets a bird that has never seen a real snake? The lie falls apart. Mimicry is a language. It is a conversation between species that has been going on for millions of years. But when the dictionary changes, the conversation turns into a tragedy. We like to think of ourselves as the masters of the world, the only creatures capable of complex thought and sophisticated art. But when we look at a caterpillar that can transform into a viper, or a bird that can speak the language of snakes, we have to humble ourselves. Nature is not just red in tooth and claw. It is creative. It is deceptive. It is brilliant. The next time you are out in the woods, or even in your own backyard, look a little closer at that moth on the fence, or that stick on the ground. You are walking through a world of masks. You are surrounded by tiny actors, performing the role of a lifetime, just to see one more sunrise. The wild is full of terrors, yes. But the greatest terror of all is the one that isn't even there. In a world where you can be anything, why not be the thing they fear? If this journey into the world of animal deception amazed you, there is so much more to uncover. The natural world is far stranger than we can imagine. What is the most incredible animal disguise you've ever seen? Was it a bug that looked like a leaf, or something even more bizarre? Let us know in the comments. Your curiosity is what keeps this channel alive. Stay curious, stay observant, and remember, things are rarely what they seem. I'll see you in the next episode of Animal Lover Planet.